Right when I need it.
I move that we consider all the candidates that Judge Forshone has recognized as and submitted, and that we get the vote over.
Second. We have a motion and a second to accept all candidates. This would take it to a valid vote, and we can get moving.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Regarding the issue, I think it's a very important issue. We have to decide as a body who is qualified and if they meet the requirements of the revised code. Usually on an election for a sheriff, the Board of Elections would be the one to go over the documents and determine that. And I respect Mr. Thompson and Mr. Oki as attorneys, but I think it's our duty as central committeemen to determine if the candidates are qualified. And by saying the attorneys say it's okay, I don't think that's the proper way for us to determine that. I think we have to look at the documents and we have to decide whether they are qualified or not. And Judge Forshone has repeated many times that his duty as acting judge is to just, the documents are presented to him, and then he says everybody, okay, they presented the documents as necessary, but that doesn't, he's not the determiner of whether those documents purport to the revised code or not. Usually it's up to the Board of Elections in a regular election, but talking with Gretchen Quinn, who's been down at the Secretary of State's office for many years, she says that is our duty, and that's what our duty is tonight. And again, if this is challenged subsequently by saying that we relied on the advice of attorneys, I don't know if we're fulfilling our duty or not.
Any further discussion? Yes, Mr. Thompson.
I am Mike Thompson. Excuse me. I am also a member of this committee, and I've known John for a lot of years, and I respect him. But I've got to say what I've got to say. And
can everybody hear him? I'm sorry.
Hey, Randy, that mic, if you hand it, people can talk.
He's Sergeant at Arms. John.
Well, I'm trying to make it so everybody can hear. They're all complaining. It's on. It's on.
Hello?
Hit the button on the bottom.
Button on the bottom. It says on.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. What? My wife says I talk too loud all the time.
You can come up here.
I'll start that again. My name is Mike Thompson. I sit as a member of this committee. I do respect John Ferraro, but with all due candor, John, that this committee has been sued by one of the candidates. And it's Randy, and this committee's been sued. One of the affidavits, or two affidavits in support of that, came from John. We have all been sued. I don't believe it is the appropriate thing for us to look at each candidate qualifications. There is a statute that's been followed. The judge has issued a journal entry, the same for all three candidates, saying they have presented the paperwork, he has signed it, and it's given it to us. There is a procedure. If someone believes that someone is not qualified, it can be raised by a legal proceeding afterwards. But this is not, we're not a judge, we're not a jury, and to get into the legalities of all the subsections makes no sense whatsoever. If it turns out that somebody wants to challenge this, then they can challenge it. But in all fairness to this group, we don't sit in that position, John. And I also saw your name in support of one of the candidates, too. And I know you know that, and I respect your opinion as a member to be able to do that, but you can't stand up as the prosecuting attorney and make comments. So I think all qualified. I think we should choose the best for the people of this county and for our party. Thank you.
Concerns that I did bring to the chairman's attention, discussed them with him many times. So we have to determine whether a person fits the qualifications of the revised code. And again, not the attorneys. The precinct committeemen have to determine that. And I asked the chairman that, how do we do that? Okay? Because it's very easy to have an election and then let the Board of Elections go through the documents to see who's qualified and not. We got a very important function to do here today. And as county prosecutor, Mike, if I can speak on that, that's what my concern is. When I was asked by Mr. Darrell's attorney to sign that affidavit, that, are we really equipped as a body to determine the requirements of the state statute? Or, as they filed in the Supreme Court, should a court determine that before we meet? That is the biggest question I have. I have, utmost respect for all the candidates, and I told them whoever shall prevail tonight, after the lawsuits are filed, I will support them, whoever the Democrat is in office. But that, I thought I had to tell that to the committee. I thought it was important that we let the county's side known, because if we all have a memory, look back about 2 years ago what we went through with the Ziegler mess as a party. I don't want that to happen again, ladies and gentlemen. And that's all I'm asking you. If we're going to make a determination, if we're asked to do determination, we have to do that. I was involved in the Ziegler mess from day one to the final day. Okay, and I know what it was like. I don't want that to happen again. I just feel that we have to determine if these people are qualified. If we don't, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lawsuit, and I've been told that. There's a pending lawsuit now. If we go forward today, if the candidates are not able to meet the conditions of the revised code, there's going to be a lawsuit, and that's going to be the county's bill, because I'm not going to file it because I have a parent conflict of being a committeeman and supporting one of the candidates, and it's going to be a mess just like we faced a couple of years ago, and that's the reason I think that we wanted to make sure that the candidates were qualified.
We are getting sued, and John Ferraro signed an affidavit to sue us. So I really think that it's a little difficult to get up and make an argument for that. I'm going to have the motion restated.
I move that we vote on all three candidates as they were presented by Judge Porcione to this body. And I'd like to make the comment that we're doing what we do best as Democrats, and that is to fight among ourselves. But out of that fight, we always come out stronger, and we always come out more convicted. With great conviction, because everyone in this room has struggled in their lives to get where they are. I don't see many of the 1%ers in here. And for that reason, because we have fought all our lives, we continue to fight even in meetings like this. But every one of us has had the opportunity through the newspapers and the media to see and examine the qualifications of all three candidates. And there are people in this room that can be asked about those candidates' qualifications, but there comes a time when we as Democrats have to stop the fighting and go forth and make the vote that other people may not want us to make. And now is that time. So I am calling for a vote on my motion.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Mr.
I'll
Chairman,
get back to you.
I just have a quick question for you.
Yes.
We have 3 qualified people, correct?
Yes.
Stand up.
We have 3 qualified people for this position, correct? Well, let's get this ball rolling, okay?
Okay.
Ball rolling.
I agree. That's where we're at. Discussion, we have some more. Yes, Darcy. Yes, Darcy.
What is the Ohio Revised Code that we're relying on, and how can we compare their qualifications? Because there's been so much discussion that I'm not going to believe Attorney Thompson, because I'm an attorney and I've read things, but a lot of people haven't even read the Ohio Revised Code to understand what it says compared to what the qualifications are. I don't even know if Attorney Meyer is currently serving as an office, as a deputy. At the beginning, he was not. I heard that maybe somebody hired him. I don't know. I also don't know if he has the proper supervision experience, because certainly he's had lots of accolades, lots of certificates, but I don't know that that is actually supervisory experience as a full-time officer within the proper number of years. Or, on the other part, certainly he has not had enough qualifying education credits through an accredited college. So I have questions about what those qualifications are and how one of the other attorneys certified or indicates he's qualified.
Thank you.
Yes, Guy.
We had a meeting, we all remember, and we decided to put a Republican in office, and I'm glad my mom's not here to hear that. But you did the right thing because he was in office. Somebody just said we're here to appoint a Democrat to the position of sheriff, and I want you all to remember that's what we're here to put a Democrat in.
Thank you, Guy. Jeanette, you do roll call. Yes.
Between you and Mr. DeMora, can you explain to me why the three choices that we have not been authorized through some procedure? I am hearing the Board of Elections didn't do it. Considering that specific position has to meet a certain criteria. Mr. DeMora, has the state looked at these three to see whether or not they qualify and have met the state requirements for us to vote on?
It's not the state party's role to determine qualifications, it's actually this body's role to determine if the people are qualified to serve as sheriff. Because the Board of Elections, as an appointment, the responsibility falls on you. Basically, you can determine. It's not the state party's job to determine qualifications, it's the members of this committee's job to determine if someone's qualified. So the way to determine if someone's qualified is if you decide to nominate them to be sheriff. So this motion is in order. If you vote on it and those three people, you're considering those people qualified by your vote of yes. If the vote is yes. If you don't think those people are qualified, then you would vote no, and then you have the next order of business.
Thank you. Yes, Dave.
Why does our bylaw state we can do a secret ballot if we can't?
Because they haven't been updated. But that's not even on the floor right now. We're just discussing the motion on the floor. It's not the discussion on the floor. It's not the issue. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name's Fred Scott. I do work for John Ferraro. I happen to be one of the people who does a lot of the work. But I will tell you, I've known Darrell a long time, and I took it upon myself to go to Judge Forshone, and I took it upon myself to read the qualifications, and I took it upon myself to read the statute, and I took it upon myself to advise my friend where to go to seek legal redress. Talking about the qualification, legal, I don't think I need it. Talking about the legal and statutory qualifications for this position is imperative. The person that you nominate here tonight is going to be the top law enforcement officer in the county. And there is a revised code section which says what the statutory prerequisites are for that person to hold office. Now, I have a great deal of respect for Mr. Meyer, his service in law enforcement, Mr. Darrow and his service in law enforcement, and for all of the law enforcement officers in this room tonight, and all of the law enforcement officers that I've had the privilege to work with as an assistant county prosecutor trying felony cases, and working at the Court of Appeals, and working at the Ohio Supreme Court. If my 20 years have taught me one thing, it's if there's a question, lawyers will dig into that question and sort it out. And after looking at these qualifications, I believe that the statutory prerequisites upon which Mr. Meyer relies are flat out wrong. He does not meet the qualifications. That's my opinion. It's not my boss's opinion. I might get reprimanded when I go into work tomorrow. I kind of doubt it because he's not that kind of guy. But I will tell you that there's a couple bases. Number one, the legal basis that Mr. Thompson talked about. You have to be a full-time peace officer for the last 4 years. There's serious question whether that requirement's met. You have to either have served at the rank of corporal or above for 2 of the last 5 years. There's serious questions whether that requirement was met because Mr. Meyer held a civilian post. If you don't meet that requirement, you have to have 2 years of post-secondary education. Mr. Meyer submitted transcripts with life credits to Judge Forshone, and I appreciate those credits. But by Stark State's own policy, you have to be a student there for 12 hours before you have earned those credit hours. And make no mistake about it, the Supreme Court says and talks about earning those credit hours. And the Supreme Court, in their opinions, also talks about having what supervisory experience is, and it says you have to have the supervisory experience while you're a full-time law enforcement officer. So I believe that the qualifications, the statutory qualifications, are imperative. And I believe that the questions are being raised not out of animosity or spite or meanness toward the other candidate. They're simply being raised because this position is far too important. And what the sheriff does is far too important to have that sheriff's legal qualifications called into question in the future. Thank you.
Sheriff, we've gone through this process. We have a motion on the floor, a second in discussion. Jeanette, call the roll. No, actually, maybe we can just do this by standing. All those in favor of accepting the 3 and moving forward to vote right now, please rise. All those in favor of accepting the 3 candidates and calling for the vote and proceeding right now, please rise.
Let's vote.
Vote. That's an easy majority.
Call up the name, come up and get your ballot, and then I have a shoebox, literally, and you put your ballot in the shoebox, and after everybody's turned them in, I will go count the vote.
We have a lot of attorneys in the room. The motion on the floor is to move forward with the vote with the 3 candidates that were presented. Again, when we received this, we hired legal counsel. Legal counsel has reviewed them. Again, I had it seconded by another today. This is not there's a provision. If somebody wants to question this in law, follow the law. There is a provision for this to be challenged. Tonight, we're here to pick a sheriff. We've gone through this process. We have a motion on the floor, a second in discussion. Jeanette, call the roll. No, actually, maybe we can just do this by standing. All those in favor of accepting the 3 and moving forward to vote right now, please rise. All those in favor of accepting the 3 candidates and calling for the vote and proceeding right now, please rise.
Let's vote.
That's an easy majority. We will move forward. The ballots are in the back. They will call off.
All right, I believe the procedure is going to be as follows. The Board of Elections members have the ballots in the back. They have each person who's on this committee's name on there. So you go, I guess they have been up in order in the back, is that correct? Or you can call them up and stand to them. All right, that's going to call up the name, come up and get your ballot, and then I have a shoebox, literally, and you put your ballot in the shoebox, and after everybody's turned them in, I will go count the votes. Board of Elections.
Too much around the house, right?
I think that guy's going to have here.